Hey everybody, hope you're having a terrific Tuesday.
I'm the penguin.
I'm the chef.
And we're back.
Yeah. This is video number 1 of the day. We're probably going to make a couple more. We've been working all day doing stuff around the house because it's got behind not being around the house doing stuff because of other things going on in the family and stuff. But Penguin has asked me to do this for a while, and I've kind of just kept holding off on it because it's kind of complicated, and easier is usually better when you're making a recipe. And I use a lot of stuff in my baked beans. But on the other hand, I've had people from a lot of places tell me that my baked beans are the best baked beans they ever had. I used to work with a couple guys, and I'm not going to mention their names. They were from foreign countries, and they'd never had baked beans before, and they had mine, and then they had baked beans at restaurants, and they said mine was way better than they ever had. The reason they got them at the restaurants because they had mine. That's honest. So I'm going to tell you how I do it today. Now, I'm using this big round pan because we don't have a large iron skillet.
I'm going to move you guys around. Now, the large iron skillet that we had ended up getting burned up, and I have a big, large cast iron Dutch oven, but it's too big for this.
It's too big, and I'm making too many beans anyway, just for me and her with what I'm making. But I like having leftovers because I like taking the leftover beans, cutting up some hot dogs in it, and recooking it, and making me some homemade baked beanie weenies. But this is what you're going to need for this recipe. I have 2 of the 28-ounce cans of Van de Kapp pork and beans and the tomato sauce. You can use whatever kind you want, but you want to get the ones that's got tomato sauce in them. Otherwise, you have to use a bunch of ketchup to get the flavor you need. I'm using the sugar-free honey. You need honey, this kind of honey or regular honey. Black pepper, and then we got Heinz, and I recommend using Heinz. That makes the best when you're making the baked beans. You're going to need a little lemon juice, some garlic powder, some onion powder, your favorite hot sauce, of course me and Louisiana Supreme, Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of liquid smoke. I've already diced up a whole small white onion here, as you can see. This is brown sugar sitting back here in the back. You need a little bit of that. I'm using the Great Value Walmart thick cut bacon. You need like 6 to 7 strips of bacon for this amount of beans. And then the odd thing that I put in mine, malt vinegar. I don't have a bottle of malt vinegar on hand right now, but I usually save all the packets from Long John's because they have really good malt vinegar there. So basically what I do is, especially when we had the iron skillet, I cut my bacon open. I'm going to take 3 pieces out and cut it in like thirds and spread it around the bottom of the pan. And I already have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. Where you going there, bub?
Hey, Boone.
Sit down. I'm going to cut that up and spread it around the pan. There you go. You hear the oven beeping right now. It's hot. And I'm going to let that cook for about 10 to 15 minutes and get part of the way done. And then I'm going to come back. I'll bring you guys back and we'll put all our fixings in there. That way the pan's already coated. It's got some bacon grease in it to add flavor. And so the beans don't stick to the bottom. Because beans can stick if you let them cook too long or too hot. So let me get this bacon cut up and I'll show you what it looks like and then we'll get it in the oven. Okay, there you go. I've got 4 strips of thick cut bacon arranged there in the bottom of my pan. Like I said, you can put as little as much or you don't even have to. That's up to you. But I like bacon. Bacon and baked beans go together. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to cook it for like 10 to 15 minutes and keep an eye on it. I want it to get about half to 3/4 of the way done. Not quite all the way crisp, you know what I'm saying? But I want the grease to spread around the pan. And when we get that point, I start adding the fixings. I'll bring you back. Okay, there you can see the bacon's about half to 3/4 of the way done. I swished it all around already to get the grease spread everywhere. So I'm going to make sure the bacon's loose. You see it's all loose there now. And we're ready to start putting our fixings in. Like I said, you can use any brand of beans you want. I think Van de Kamp's makes the best ones. Showboats are pretty good too if you like showboat beans. They come in a can already as big as one can as big as these 2. We're gonna get all our beans done in there. Beans, the magical fruit.
You know what they say.
The more you eat it, the more you eat, the better the taste.
That's what they say. And that is true.
There's 1 can of beans.
Beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you crave them.
This recipe is actually my grandmother's. I took her recipe because she used to make beans every time the family had something. And she never got to take any home, let's put it that way. They all got ate up. But hers were a little sweeter than what these are. And I loved her big beans, but I wanted them, I don't know, more tangy. So I started playing with them when I got old enough to learn how to cook. I took her recipe and did this and that to it, and then, like I said, I ended up with this recipe, which I've added. It's still her original recipe, but I've added 3 or 4 other components to it to give it a little bit more hot, spicy, tangy kind of flavor.
I think you were cooking out of your diapers.
Yeah, not that early, but pretty young. We go camping and stuff, and I cook. I remember being 10, 12 years old and camping with my brother-in-law and my sister and my nephew and them and stuff like that. And I'd make gravy when we go in the morning. I used to take smoky links and make smoky link gravy out of them. If you've ever had that before, it's pretty good. I recommend, like I said, though, using cast iron. I just didn't have one big enough right now to hold all that, but cast iron makes the best thing.
We need to get a new cast iron pan.
We do.
We do have a cast iron skillet, but it's not as big.
Yeah, it's not as big. We have a small pot, I don't know, I think it's a 8 or 10-inch skillet, and I got one of them little itty-bitty baby, like 5-inch skillets. But
and then a big Dutch oven.
Yeah, and a big Dutch oven. And I have my whole small white onion there. We're going to put it all down in there.
Is it white or yellow?
I think this was a white one.
Okay. You can use sweet onion if you want.
Yeah, you can use any kind of onion you want. You can put this amount, you can put none, you can put more. This is just how I make them. Usually when I make them, I'm making like 4 times this much, 3 times this much to get together or whatever. So I usually use 2 large onions. But we're going to stir all that up and get the beans and the bacon and the juices all stirred up in there first.
No one's going to want to be around us for the next couple of days.
No, especially if you make some deviled eggs to go with them. Let me tell you what. I went to a party one time when I first worked at my last place. The guy was the boss. Yes, Food. Everybody can hear you. The job we had to do was a little different than our normal, and he bet us that we could not do it in a certain amount of time, and we did it just to prove him wrong. So on one weekend, this has been many, many years ago now, mind you, when I used to drink a little bit. Hey, he said he would buy us a keg. Well, we got together and got another keg, and then we decided to make it into a party. I'm going to use about 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I like a lot of pepper, so.
Me too.
We're going all the way around. If you don't have black pepper, you can use white pepper, and you can adjust.
You hear noise in the background, it's just me.
Yeah, she's moving stuff around in a cabinet.
Digging out my rice cooker.
We're going to use about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of onion powder. You're going to say, man, it's a lot of onion with the real onion powder, but actually they have 2 different flavors. Garlic powder, same thing. A teaspoon to a tablespoon, depends on how you like it. If you like real garlic, you can add a little bit of real garlic too, but I wouldn't put too much because it can get too bitter in there.
And we don't like bitter.
No. Hot sauce, of course, I use my Louisiana. I'll usually put a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. You want to watch depending on the kind of hot sauce you're using. Now this is just very plain hot sauce, but you can get too hot. I have did that before by trying to use other hot sauces. Well, back to my party though. We decided to make it into a cookout, so we got together and we paid for a keg. He paid for a keg. There was another guy who used to work with us in a different area, and he had a smoker, so we went and did a whole hog kind of thing, and everybody brought carry-in. I, of course, made my baked beans, and somebody brought a bunch of deviled eggs. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce right now. Maybe a little bit more. Liquid smoke. Don't want to add too much of this. You want a little bit so you get a little bit of flavor, but you don't want to use too much because it can be overbearing. So we're going to put about, we're going to put about a teaspoon's worth in there. But anyway, the party went on all day long. We drank, we ate, we had barbecue, we had baked beans, we had deviled eggs. Well, about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, all those things started fermenting together and a bunch of people's innards. And we were playing volleyball, kind of, sort of, over a net. And one person let one that would about laid half of New York out. Everybody started running. Well, in the midst of running, a lot of other people started passing gas too. So that was pretty much the end of the party for a while because nobody could stand to be around anybody else. It was pretty foul. Yeah. Beer, baked beans, barbecue, and deviled eggs are a lethal combination.
Very much so.
You heard that from the chef. Lethal combination. Okay, now we got my sugar-free fake honey. I usually put about 3 tablespoons to 4 tablespoons.
Sorry if I'm making too much noise.
You are.
Sorry.
There's the honey. I'm going to use some brown sugar.
That sounded like somebody came to the party.
You can use any kind you like. This is what we got. This is light brown sugar. You can use dark. And I usually try to put about 3 tablespoons of it in there. I'm going to let this cook for a while at 350 in the oven. I'll probably set the timer for about an hour. And I'm going to take it out and stir it up at that point and taste it. And then if you want more of one thing or less of another, you can adjust because it's going to have a lot of liquid in it. So it's going to take a while for these to cook down. They do take a while. They're not like instant baked beans you can throw on top of the stove. You got to let them cook down.
We don't like runny baked beans.
Yeah, a lot of lemon juice there. It's brand new, so I better. Good cap full of lemon juice in there. And now we're on to our malt vinegar. Like I said, at that hour point when you take it out and stir it up, you can adjust it. Then if you think it needs more ketchup, it needs more vinegar, it needs less of something, well then you just have to add more of something else.
It's usually good the first time though.
Yeah, it usually is. Right now to start with, I'm going to put 3 packages. And I don't know how much is in a package. What would you say, a teaspoon probably?
Yeah. Tablespoon.
Think there's a whole tablespoon in one of these? Well, let's find out. Never measured before. Yeah, she's right. There's a whole tablespoon in one.
Yay, I'm right.
Maybe just a drizzle more too. But the one thing I do adjust, usually at that hour, if it needs more sweet, I put more brown sugar or more honey. If it needs more tangy, then I add a little bit more hot sauce or Worcestershire or malt vinegar. I'm going to stir all this up together. My grandma never got to have my baked beans. By the time I started doing all that, my grandma had passed away. I wish she would have got to try them so I could have got her input on them. She was quite a lady.
Yeah.
She lived at quite ripe old age. And I know a lot of people say that alcohol will hurt you, and she by no means was an alcoholic, but she loved blackberry brandy. Every day she'd have just a little, she had a special cup. She had just a little bit over a shot late in the afternoon every day of blackberry brandy. She said,
you have an onion on the inside of the rim right there.
Onion on the inside of the
rim?
rim?
Yeah, well, you almost got it.
Get that time?
Yeah, you got it now.
She used to have one of those late in the afternoon or in the evening every day. That was one of the gifts that people always give her with blackberry brandy. She said it helped calm her nerves and helped her sleep, and she lived to quite ripe an old age. And now, for the first time, we're putting ketchup in it. And I couldn't tell you how much I use. I use a lot. And let's see, this is a 44-ounce bottle, so I would say I'd probably use just then probably about 12 to 14 ounces. And I'm gonna stir that in and let it cook, and then later on, when they're getting drier and I got the other bacon I'm gonna put on top of it cooking, then I'm probably gonna add some more as a topping to spread on the top. That way you get that good color, you get that tangy flavor that comes out of them. That all stirred up. I hope you guys have been having a good Tuesday. It's not been too bad here today. Just trying to catch up doing things we haven't did.
Busy, and I still have a video to make later.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay awake.
I went out and watered my vegetables, and I found out that something or someone has been stealing some of my cherry tomatoes, which is no big deal because I got more than I can handle. But someone took 12 of my peaches off of my one peach tree that was bearing, so I only got about 4 peaches left on it. Must have did it one day when we were running doing stuff for the family, so.
Yeah, I don't think it was an animal because usually they don't disappear at night.
Yeah, they don't pick the best 12 peaches off. There you go, we're ready to bake. Of course, if you're the chef, you know what you gotta do.
You gotta taste it.
Gotta taste it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy.
I'd say pretty much all that's going to need is the bacon on top and just some more ketchup. And it's probably pretty much good.
Yeah, it's good.
So we're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees, set the timer for an hour. At the hour point, we're going to take it out.
That onion's back again. Sorry, it's driving me nuts.
We're going to stir it up that way. Everything gets mixed around. We're going to see if it's too liquidy or if it's too dry. If you need more liquid, you got to add a little more liquid. If it's too dry, you got to add a little more liquid. If it's too wet, then you're going to have more.
Let it bake more.
You have to let it bake more. That's right. Because when you put the bacon on top of it, at that point you can't stir it up anymore. You just got to let that bacon and bacon grease cook down into the top of it. So in an hour, I'll be back. We'll stir it up and we'll see what it tastes like, guys.
It sounds a lot more difficult than it is.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
But it's really tangy baked beans that make you give you that pucker, that lemon juice and vinegar, give you that little bit of pucker flavor.
Make you want some more.
Yeah. So we'll be right back. Okay, we've been cooking an hour, and I can see it's still kind of liquidy. Firmed up a little bit, but it's still got a lot of moisture. I have something else cooking in the oven too, which might be slowing it down a little bit since I got something else cooking. But we're going to put it back in for a half an hour and come back and check at that point. It might need to go another half hour after that again. I don't know. We're just going to have to let it cook down. That's the whole thing. You want to give these beans time to cook down. Let all the flavors marry before you put that bacon on for that final cook. So we'll be back in a half an hour. Okay, there's been another half an hour. Now you see they're starting to set up. Now I did turn up the heat to 400 because I was trying to get them done a little faster since we're doing it on video. I like cooking them slower and letting them dry out some, but we went ahead and did this and it'll be fine. But you see about how much liquid you got now. Starting to set up. You know, you're getting a lot of steam there. It's all nice and hot. But we're ready for the next step, which is we're going to take some more of that good old Heinz ketchup. And we're going to squirt it all over the top like that. So I'd say I used about 20 ounces probably, maybe a little more, a little less. We're going to take and spread that on the top. This depends on how much you like that flavor on your beans. I like it a lot. Some people prefer a little less. Just like we always say, try it my way once and then tweak it and make it your own. That's what I do with all my recipes. You like to taste that?
Uh-huh. Of course. I want to dunk it.
Go ahead.
I want to bite of beans.
Well, go ahead. Just have to flatten it back out.
It's going to be hot. Ooh, it's going to be hot. Hot.
It'll be very hot.
Woo-hoo.
See, now we're going to lay on the rest of our bacon.
I'm just going to hold it and let it cool a minute because it's really hot.
Like I said, I'm using thick cut bacon. I already used 4 pieces in the bottom. So I'm just going to cut this back to 2 instead of 3. And we're going to do it just like that. Now we're going to put it back in at 375. We're going to finish baking. We're going to set it for about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. You're going to let it cook down because now you got more ketchup. You've added some more liquid again and there'll be a little grease coming off your bacon. How are they? What's
It's good.
It's good.
It was hot.
But you want to let them cook down longer. Like I said, good baked beans should have just a little liquid in them. They shouldn't be like pork and beans when you put them out on a plate. They should be kind of stuck together.
Thick.
Yeah, thick. That's the way I believe good baked beans should be. The way I've had them in restaurants and they've tasted pretty good. So let me get these back in the oven, 375. I'm going to set it at 45 and we'll check it. Might need to go a little longer. We'll be back. Okay, there you go. There's the chef's world famous baked beans. You see, I can tilt the pan and they don't move.
That's what you want in a good baked bean.
That's right. They're not runny, but they're still moist inside. That ketchup sealed them on the top and the bacon cooked down into them. So here in a little bit, we're going to have supper. I've been cooking stuff for a while to have with supper. You know us. If we fix it, we eat it. And in my spare time here in the background, you remember I made those pickled jalapenos before? Showed you guys how to do the refrigerator jalapenos. Well, I had a whole bunch more out of the garden I needed to use up. And I had more cherry tomatoes today. I've had over 300 now off that little one plant. So I decided to pickle some with some onion and some cherry tomatoes. So I made a couple of big quart-sized jars. I'll stick them in the refrigerator and let them ferment for a few days, and we'll take them out and give them a taste test. I've never did the tomatoes like this before. So pickles or the peppers and onions, yes. Tomatoes, no. But we'll let you know. But we'll get this all plated up here, and I'll show you what we're having for dinner tonight, guys. Okay, guys, there you go. That's what's for dinner tonight. Chef's world famous baked beans. I'm having some tater tots. I made some baby back ribs, and I got some garden fiesta slaw I made. I did that early this morning because it has to set for about 6 hours once you mix it together.
And you guys, this is something that if you guys want to see how Chef makes this, please let us know. It's not something you see very often anywhere, but it has amazing flavors.
Yeah, usually in this slaw you use cabbage, but since we have the baby choy out there, I use baby choy in it. So it's got jalapenos, tomatoes, and baby choy, and a little bit of green onion out of our garden that I put in it, and a piece of roasted corn that I roasted off, sweet corn.
It's got roasted corn, bacon, tomatoes, jalapenos, bok choy, and a few other ingredients.
Yeah, and then the seasonings and
the sauce for it.
Yeah, the sauce.
Cumin.
Sauce is plural.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
And on my side over here, I'm having basically the same thing, but instead of tots, I'm having rice, because I always like to have rice with my ribs. So, but there's the baked beans, if you can see.
That's what for
Bring
dinner.
you a close-up of those. So good.
And I know I have a big helping on there, but trust me, I'll eat them all.
If you can see how thick they are, but yet nice and moist.
Yeah, they stick together, baked beans.
Yum, yum, yum.
Like I said, this was originally my grandmother's recipe, and I worked with it and tweaked it. She never got to try it, of course. She passed away before I got to where I liked it, but I think she would have liked it.
These are the best baked beans that I personally have ever had. And I'm not just saying that because I'm married to the chef. I always thought my mom's baked beans were the best. The only thing that I do different when I make my baked beans like the chef does is I'll add some bell pepper to them. So that's the only thing different, but yum, yum, yum. Bite, guys. I'm sorry. I couldn't wait.
But like I said, I've had, I'm not going to say tons, but I've had several people tell me before they're the best baked beans they've ever had and asked for my recipe. And I've gave a few of them the recipe and a few of them that I really didn't want to share with. You know how that goes when you have recipes you like. I didn't really share my recipe with them. So that's how the chef makes his baked beans. And I know there's some points in the world that people came from that they've had them and then they had other baked beans and they said they'd much rather have my baked beans.
Mm-hmm.
Just from working different places and working with different people.
From Uruguay to LA.
Yeah.
Round the world baked beans.
Yeah, from Miami to my mama.
Anyway, guys, this video is going up before the one that I was supposed to do is going up because Chef got the beans done first. So my recipe will come tomorrow.
And like I said, if anybody would like to see my Fiesta Garden slaw recipe, let me know and I'll make another batch of it. I didn't make a huge batch, just enough for me and her to have a couple times.
Yep.
I got a bunch of stuff out of the garden today too, though. Like I showed you earlier, I canned that. I got jalapenos, sweet red peppers, way more cherry tomatoes, a few green onions that went in the slaw. What else did I get? Or something else I brought?
You got a lot of stuff. Sweet red peppers.
Yeah, the baby choy.
Baby choy.
I used about half the baby choy I brought in for the slaw. So.
All right, guys, I'm over here eating baked beans.
Yeah, we gotta go. Time to eat.
Time to eat, guys. So we're back. Thank you guys for being patient with us. We'll do our best to be more regular with videos. And we will see you guys in the next video tomorrow.
Say bye-bye, Poon.
Say bye, Boone.
Bye, Poon.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Night, guys.
Bye night.